my enthusiastic crowd, studio audience. They're, as usual, just too kind. And welcome to another episode of TrendChat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And as the past couple of days, kind of the same, we have a full slate of interviews from CPAC, but I'm going to maybe do one or two less because I want to have a couple of remarks to President Trump's speech to the joint session of Congress last night. And so get straight into it. I just want to say, to preface anything about this speech, that I'm going to say by saying this. In comparison to the past 8 years, President Trump's speech was great. So I want to say that. Now, overall, I thought it was good. I wasn't like I saw with some just looking at social media where it was kind of over the top. I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, he had some real good points, and it had some points where in there for me personally that I kind of had questions about more than anything. Not so much as saying things were particularly bad, mainly because what he's talking about now doesn't have any policy backing it up or any policy to reference. So even if I have questions about it, the questions may be about how that will be implemented and whatnot, in what way. So like the good, being the last day of Black History Month, he acknowledged Black History Month. You know, I mean, it's kind of a given, but it was also in conjunction with him meeting with the HBCU, Historical Black Colleges and Universities presidents today, and actually, you know, I think I saw a story about some vandalism happening in Howard University, basically, which I guess they're going to do an investigation. Personally, I'm guessing it's probably by another black student, because now they're upset that their president met with President Trump, and pretty much, I mean, historical black colleges are pretty much, I would say, 90% liberal. So actually, that shouldn't come in much of a surprise. But like I said, he acknowledged Black History Month and in his speech, and also some anti-Semitism as far as what was going on with defacing Jewish cemeteries. Now I had a couple of questions in some parts of his speech. I know at the beginning he was mentioning about a list of companies who was going to bring jobs back to the states and whatnot. I think he mentioned Walmart, and I forget all the rest of them. But that's all fine and good. My question is this going to be, are these jobs going to come due to some form of, now some people will call this crony capitalism, which I wouldn't call it crony capitalism, because it's not capitalism, it's cronyism. I'll put it that way. But if that's the way that these jobs will come back, then that's not a free market idea, and that, you know, I wouldn't agree with that method of bringing jobs back. I'm not just by any means necessary bringing jobs back, or the ends justify the means. So that's my questions for it. Now, also another one that that's been very popular in saying that for every one regulation you introduce, two has to be cut. Now, I'm just thinking off the top of my head that, yes, that on its face, two for one sounds great. Okay, you bring in one regulation, you got to cut two more. I guess because I'm thinking of how manipulative politicians can be. So I think of it like this. Okay, what if the one regulation that they want to put in is bigger than the two that is going to be cut. I mean, I hope people can you understand how I'm saying this? Like I want to bring in this regulation. So if I bring in this regulation, these other two going to be cut. But the one that I'm introducing is bigger than the two that are getting cut. So that's my question for that. So now back to some good. Immigration. Now he doesn't go as far as I would like as when it comes to immigration. But then again, that kind of goes back into actually seeing the policy being enforced and going from there. So that's more of a question. But his stance on immigration is far better than anything that Hillary would have been saying if she was making this speech right now, or anything Obama has said in the past 8 years. So that's my back and forth with that. Now, the other thing, infrastructure spending. Okay. I mean, $1 trillion for infrastructure spending. I mean, to me, that kind of sounded like what Obama proposed and did with his stimulus. And I mean, the way President Trump explained it, making sure that there's American jobs and using, I guess, American, materials and whatnot. I mean, that's buying American with American workers. That's all great, but the thing about it is the cost being so high. Now, I know there's roads need to be built, but I just feel that this should be more pushed to the state, more of a state responsibility. Or at least if they're going to do it, to try to do this at least more efficiently, and as far as not having such a high price tag. Repeal and replace Obamacare. Okay, I'm more for repeal Obamacare and have free market ideas for the healthcare system. And I would prefer repeal and reform. As far as replacing, I would say kind of like what I've heard from other people, as far as basically making this kind of like Obamacare light, and that's not something I'm in favor of. But like I go back to, repealing is better than anything that Obama would have said. He would have been taking it further, or what Hillary would be saying right now, as far as what she would want to do with Obamacare. It should be talking about a single payer system right now. So that's kind of what I'm looking at when I'm thinking about this speech. Like, okay, well, I'm a little back and forth on it, because I'm thinking about in comparison to what I've been hearing as opposed to and what I could have been hearing. So, I know one thing. Trying to look at my notes here. I guess with law enforcement, definitely just want to. That's one thing that needs to be seen in practice. So a lot of these things, given the fact that he still doesn't have all his cabinet yet, and these things need to be, I guess, fleshed out. But on the surface, they a lot of this sounds good here, and just now we're kind of waiting for the policy, and kind of like what I mentioned in another podcast about that when it comes to these executive orders and other things that the Trump administration is doing now, I will feel a lot better if all of these things, especially these executive orders, are backed up by legislation. But we'll play that interview by the Reactionary Times where I was interviewed during CPAC. I'll play that not on Thursday, I think. So those are my remarks for the speech, and so just gonna I guess now go ahead and get into some more of these interviews. Actually, I think I might have to push one back to Thursday, which is fine. So first we're gonna start off with Antonia Okafor. This was close to the end of CPAC, and got a chance to speak with her for a pretty kind of extended period of time. Had some time to talk, and it was good catching up with her. And here is our conversation. It kind of ranged on a number of things. So here we go.
It's politicchicks.com. My name is Brian Bledsoe here at CPAC, and we have the Antonia Okafor. Now, you have so many ways people know you from Independent Journal Review, NRA. I'm running out. So what else?
Oh, so what else I do? I'm still a campus carry activist. That's still very important to me. But I just started this new initiative called Empowered. I talked about it during my Armed and Fabulous panel yesterday. Basically, it's a new initiative, self-defense initiative for young women, particularly on college campuses. But really, that goes from anywhere from a mother who's visiting her child on a college campus to a graduate student to a professor. Women on campus should be able to protect themselves just as they're able to protect themselves off campus, and they should have the training and environment and support to be able to do that. And right now there are a lot of people saying that if you're a woman, then you have to be anti-campus carry, and I'm here to say that's false.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually there for your panel. It was great, and it was definitely I would say probably one of the highlights, because it just had women to show that. Kind of go back to what Danielle said in her during her speech, which you were saying about being the face of the NRA, or not even just the NRA, just the face of just the Second Amendment, and just showing the media that there are more than just what they try to put out as far as their narrative, saying, oh well, they're old white men and whatever like that. And it's events like this that really showcase that to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love Dana's speech. She was fiery, and I was like, yes, that's exactly what you need to be doing, because people need to wake up.
Now, given that I'm part of the media per se, being in the back and hearing that, I was like, just clapping while they're over there just typing on their keyboards. I was just like, I don't care. Look, I don't care if I'm media. So what? I'm over here clapping, yes. And when y'all was up there, I was like, yes, clapping. So,
Like, wait a minute. Are you part of them? No, I don't know who you're talking about.
I was wearing a Second Amendment shirt, so it was kind of showing. So.
It's like, look, where I am. I don't have to. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. But no, exactly. It was. That was a great panel, and those women are strong women, and they've been through a lot. Every single one of them, and it's so great to see people who, instead of use that to say, you know what, I'm just going to stay at home and I'm not going to do anything. And instead they said, I'm going to take the insults and the people who, because really, you would think that the stuff that they've been through, that people would be more, let's say, friendly towards them, regardless of their ideology. No. So we've all really dealt with a lot of hate, particularly from the side that says that they're pro-women, unless you're against what they believe in. But we still use that to help and inspire other women, and that's what I love about those women, Kim and Christy and Ashley.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into a question I was going to ask, just in general, whether we're talking about whether you're a woman or just a black conservative. Everyone, you tend to get all the name calling and everything from all sides. And so I wanted to ask you, what would be your words of encouragement for someone else is probably out there that not saying they're a conservative or anything, they're just questioning progressive ideology, but they see what happened to other people that they know that have come out, and they are feeling afraid of being ostracized themselves if they come out.
Well, I love that you asked that question, because yesterday, literally a young woman in college, right before I was going to go on my panel, I remember, because I tried not to cry before it because I was about to go, and she came up to me, and she's a college student, and she said, you know what, and she's in the East Coast, and she says, you know what, I just wanted you to know that I get called all the names in the book, including House, you know what, and all these horrible names that I also get called. And she was almost had tears in her eyes, and she was just like, but I look at you at NRA TV, and it inspires me and gives me strength to keep going, because I know there are other people who think like me, even if they don't think like me on campus. And I feel her pain. I understand what that feels like, whether it's on college campus or off college campus, whether you're on social media or not. People especially have almost made it to a point where it's okay to be vicious toward people who don't think progressively, who don't think like leftists think, and anything else is really a way to the means, is to say that it's okay because you're against what is best for America. And I think that's absolutely false. What's best for America is that we have these principles and these rights, like free speech and the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and then people get to choose whether they utilize those rights or not, but they don't inhibit other people from exercising those rights, and that's the difference. And so I would say to girls like her who share their story, who continue to go and buck stereotypes, is that it's worth it. It hit hard with me once or twice, but that's why you need a good support system, regardless if they believe what you believe or not. My family doesn't believe what I believe, but I know they love me in the end. And you surround yourself with people who love you and support you regardless of what you believe, and those are truly the people who will love you.
Okay, we're both getting a little dusty out over here thinking about that. So let's lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean, because I understand what you're saying, like, personally, because that feeling, having the insults to come by. I mean, we try to be Teflon about it, but every now and then the feeling of maybe, kind of being out there on your own, I totally understand it. So when you're saying that, So anyway.
I'm going to be here in CPAC and be like, oh, hey, you're a Black conservative? And yeah, me too. And so it's nice to be here.
and that's what I was saying myself, is that, a lot of people here work, 9-to-5 jobs, normally dealing with mostly liberal people or apathetic people.
Yeah, apathetic.
And so when they come here, it's refreshing that you can actually have a conversation about the Constitution or about something like that without someone on the other table looking at you, giving that dirty look. And so, I mean,
you're a traitor to your race, is looking that look. You know what I mean? You know it. You can feel it.
You know what? I was at so you was at the inauguration for covering for Independent Journal Review, right?
Yes.
So I was at the inauguration. And a quick little story. So I was picking up. Well, my friend was at a hotel, and we was on our way to go to the inauguration, and we were getting some breakfast at the hotel. And so everyone that is in this little circle, well, I guess everybody was getting breakfast. Obviously, these people were not going to the inauguration, but the TV was on. It was talking about the inauguration and everything, and people just having their opinions. And people like, oh, I can't believe people going there. And it was outright just saying that. But then when we walked in, we're all dressed up. I got a suit on. I know. Just for the simple fact I was dressed up. I'm dressed up, so they know that I'm going there.
Yeah.
Here I am, a black man, and my guess is she was a white woman, and so we was there, and you could hear a pin drop when we walked in. We was in there getting breakfast. All of a sudden, you could hear all the forks clanging, people slurping their drinks. You could just hear it all. People ain't said a word.
Mental slurp too. You could tell.
No one was saying a mumbling word once we got in there. They were just like, "Oh, we know where they're going. Is that a black dude? What?" Yeah. So
do you know you're black?
Oh man.
Let me educate you.
How many times have I gotten that one on Twitter or Facebook? It's saying that, do you know? No, I don't know. Yeah, I've been in denial. I'm just like Clayton Biggums.
Oh man, yeah, exactly. And it hurt, especially from people who when they would say stuff like that. But then it's just, if you have a legitimate argument, like, please talk to me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the policies that you do not agree with. But you just saying that, oh, you're anti-black people because you're for guns on campus. For example, I just got that my recent one I got on Twitter, and I retweeted it, and then of course it went away because he didn't think I was going to do that.
His tweet is unavailable.
His tweet is unavailable. How many times have that happened? Is that's the reality of it, is that they're just doing it just to do it because they don't really have a legitimate argument against it. And another thing, as a black woman, the other black women will always be like, oh, well, let's talk about your hair instead. I'm like, look, if you say you're a feminist, and then instead of giving me a legitimate argument why you're against my argument, you talk about my hair, please don't say you're a feminist. Please, for the good of feminism, just please stop, because you just said a week ago that you're more than your dress, and then you're talking about my hair instead of what you disagree with. So please don't be a hypocrite.
Actually, we could probably go on for hours with our own war stories, but this is 15 minutes, so I'm gonna try to keep try to go to another topic, I guess. Given the CPAC is almost over, and so basically, just give a recap of everything that went on.
Yeah, well, I got here Wednesday evening. I missed a little bit of it already. They had the activism workshops that I love seeing, because it really means there are a lot of students who are still engaged in the movement, and it's growing every year. I love seeing Turning Point USA. They have a big presence here, Young Americans for Freedom. And then also, Thursday we had, it seems like so long ago. Who spoke Thursday? Well, I know Friday. Friday, Wayne LaPierre spoke. Trump spoke, and then we had our panel, and I know a lot of the controversy with Milo not being here and everything, but I think it was still a lot of people who I spoke to said that this is one of the best CPACs that they've been to, and I think because of the unity. We are behind our president, and that's it, and we're going to be behind him for the next 8 years, and we're going to support him, and it might look a little bit different, but I think it's better to have that message of everybody is welcome instead of trying to segregate like other people like to, particularly on the left.
And here's a question I've asked everyone as well. So what does the word conservative mean to you?
It's like, we're about to go. That's a hard question for what does conservative mean to me? Coming from a Democratic background and realizing after college I was conservative. Conservative means to me true American values that we were founded upon, and values that we're trying to get back to. America is America because of those values, and my family came from Nigeria and immigrated here legally here because of those values, and regardless of what ideologies they have, they still get that there are core American values that transcend whether you have an ideology that goes towards one way or the other, and that's what I think conservatives are about. They're just bringing America back to values that are successful and are best for individuals, and so that's what conservatism means to me.
All right, so how can they reach you on social media or wherever? You're everywhere. So.
Yeah, well, I would love to, if you guys would reach me at AntoniaOkafor.com/empowered, and you can see my new self-defense initiative called Empowered for young women, and if you want to donate or if you want to buy one of the shirts and show on social media, tag me at Antonia_Okafor and tell me how you feel empowered, because I want people to know that there are different viewpoints of what empowered means, and that includes owning a firearm.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for Antonia Okafor for her time. And going to get into the next interview, which is with two future female leaders. We actually talked to Amanda Owens, who is the founder of Future Female Leaders, yesterday, and we actually are talking to two more who, I guess, basically we were kind of giving a review of CPAC, because this was also close to the end of CPAC as well, and so here I'm talking to Danielle and Alexa, and here we go.
Hello, this is Politics.com here at CPAC. My name is Brian Bledsoe. We're here with future female leaders, Danielle and Alexa. How y'all doing?
We're very good.
So, CPAC is pretty much over. Well, we still got a couple more. Sheriff David Clark is coming up next. Later on. And so, what you think of the whole conference altogether?
I think the conference was very successful. There's definitely a different energy than there was last year. I think last year people were really trying to, push out this big election that everybody needed to be a part of. And this year it's much more relaxed, much more like, congratulations, we did it. Like, we got our beliefs out there. We stood strong in our principles. So it's definitely different, but still good.
Yeah, I agree with Danny. It's just more of how we move forward from here. And conservatives are starting to unite again. And one speaker that I saw, Dana Lash, actually said that, it's good that we had our differences last year. It shows that we're all different and we don't fit into one specific box. And now we're able to just stand behind our president. And whether we agree with him or not, he's our president and we can support him and just move forward from here. I think that was the tone of the whole conference, I feel. Mm-hmm.
So, being with future female leaders, how has the turnout been for you, I guess, specifically?
It's been fabulous. It's always a pleasure to be at different conferences, and I know CPAC is one of our favorites just because this is where we really, conceived the idea of the red elephant skirts. This is, was really a turning point for our organization, so it's great to be back.
Yeah, definitely. I think we made a splash with our skirts. It was so fun taking pictures with people. We were able to reach so many other young women across this whole conference and just let them know about our message and help them feel empowered. We also held some meet and greets at our booth, which was awesome. We were able to connect with other conservatives. So, yeah, I think it was a really great CPAC for FFL this year.
All right, so I guess how many CPACs have y'all both been to?
This is my third CPAC.
This is my second.
Okay. So, given that we're coming up with the end of this CPAC and going into, and knowing about the Trump administration, what are you looking forward to as far as whatever coming through with the administration?
Yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to just the fact that we have a Republican president in office, and I think that's going to encourage a lot more young conservatives to be able to feel empowered and speak out, and I think that they can definitely find a landing place at future female leaders. I guess that just getting more people involved with a Republican president in office.
I think for me, this isn't specific to necessarily the policy of the administration, but I think having such a strong role model in Ivanka Trump is really great for young women our age because it really gives them a strong and empowered woman to look up to and say, if you work hard, this is what you can accomplish.
So, I guess the question I've been asking everyone also is that at the Conservative Political Action Conference is, what does the word conservative mean to you?
To me, the word conservative means standing for principles like limited government and free market capitalism.
Yeah, I agree. Standing for individualism, free markets, and liberty.
Also, just empowering people to live their best life without the government interfering. I think people need to make their own choices, their own decisions, and government limits that.
And now, speaking of empowering, young people or women in general. So, what words of encouragement would you give someone who is maybe not even considering themselves as a conservative, that maybe want to speak out and want to get more active, but are kind of afraid of being ostracized because they've seen what has happened to other people, maybe someone close to them?
This might sound a little bit cliche, but I have always found that the most empowering thing for me is empowering others. So I think when you find a community of people who are like-minded, if you can find ways to encourage each other and really be each other's cheerleaders, that helps tremendously with getting your opinions out there and standing for what you believe in.
Yeah, and Danny is great at encouraging other people and lifting people up. I can definitely attest to that. I think people on either side of the political spectrum, I think it's important to just not be afraid to speak out. If you have firmly held beliefs and you actually do research and have facts on your side, speak out. I mean, it's not going to hurt, and I think it's important to get young people involved in the conversation.
Okay, so where can they reach you on social media?
You can follow our account, Future Female Leaders, at FFL_of_America, and you can find me at Danny S. Butcher.
And you can find me on Twitter at Alexa Arch.
All right, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to Danielle and Alexa for speaking with us for a couple of minutes. The next interview is with Kevin Jackson. I knew he was going to be at CPAC, but it was just funny actually meeting him because I remember following his his site, the Blacksphere. I mean, I still do it, but I just remember when I was following back in 2010, and then I got a chance to meet him in 2010 at a Waco Tea Party, and we talk about it in this interview, but I had asked him could he do a video for my parents to kind of persuade them to vote Republican, and when I saw him, I just mentioned that to him. I wish I had it on me so I could show it to him, but yeah, it was funny just meeting up with him, and we talked for a good couple of minutes, and here's our talk right here.
This is Politichicks.com. My name is Brian Blesser. We're here at CPAC, and we have the Kevin Jackson here from the Blacksphere. So, did I say that right?
You did, the Blacksphere.
Okay. And so we're here, and just caught up with him, and I actually told him about a story where we met in 2010 at a Tea Party meeting, and where he did a video for me to kind of convince my parents to vote Republican, at least.
It didn't work.
Unfortunately, but I appreciate that, because at that time I was just getting involved, and just it was something that kind of helped me to grow more and get more engaged.
Yeah, to cross over. It's funny when, and you're probably having that same impact on other people, right? Because a lot of times we've just grown up with this idea. I grew up with Democrats the same way you did, and I never was, but I can understand that people who were dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, and then you make that transition, and it can be tough because your family's going to abandon you, right? And so it takes people seeing other folks, and so I love when people tell me, yeah, man, you strengthen my backbone and staying the course and not backing down and things like that.
So I'm guessing this is not your first CPAC.
No, I've been to about 4 of them.
Okay. So how would you describe the atmosphere as far as, at least from this year compared to last year, if you was here last year?
Yeah, this one was different because, they had Pence and Trump, and of course they're now president and vice president, and you saw the security, and it's a shame. I don't know how your first one was last year, but there was nowhere near this kind of security. You know what I'm saying? They had roped off I couldn't even get to Radio Row, and then they cut shows in the middle of broadcast. So those are unheard of types of events. Dog sweeping. But this is the type of thing, we live in a world where liberals really want to destroy us. That's the most telling thing about this one, is I've seen 12 dog, they're not sniffing for drugs. They're sniffing for bombs. And so you're sitting there going, excuse me, I'm in a hotel where they got dogs sniffing for bombs. And that's the state of our thing. But outside of that, CPAC is an interesting phenomena because some people come to want to hear the sessions. I don't want to hear this. I kind of know what my political stance is, and I'm not saying that you can't learn something from those folks. It's more interacting like this that you end up doing more at CPAC than most. This one's been more difficult because of the logistics. So, there was a point, I was up here for 2 hours today where you couldn't leave this room because of the where security was. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing. When I first came in the other day, they wouldn't let anybody on Radio Row. That was when they shut everybody down. So that's the biggest change. But and from my perspective, I still think the ACU and CPAC need to do more. They need to get more people involved, like yourself, millennials. They need to get young women. They need to get all the sacred cows of the left that they think that they own, gays. They need them speaking up and saying, I'm conservative, and here's why. And to me, it's still a lot of the same old same.
Yeah, that's a criticism I kind of have heard from others, at least here, as far as looking for new voices in the movement.
Well, so they had Sonny, which is good, and I didn't see her speech. Sonny Johnson.
No, I was going to ask you. Did you?
I didn't see it.
I missed it myself.
But I heard somebody said she knocked it out of the park, and I'm sure she did. And then, of course, Dana Lash, who's a friend of mine, and Dana spoke on the NRA and Second Amendment and all that. But and I get it. I understand what they're trying to do, but I still want more. I think there's more they can do, and I'd like to see more separate panels that deal with the various issues: feminism, race relation, white privilege versus, black underprivilege. If that's what if there's one, there's got to be the other. I'd like to see us debating foreign policy and refugee resettlement in different formats, and I think that could be so much more interesting. The little time I spent in one of the sessions, I went in because I was following one of my friends. The little bit I heard, I was bored to tears. So, yeah.
So what do you think? I know they have what they call an activism boot camp, where it's kind of. I'm just wondering, is that kind of what you were talking about?
I think we definitely have to get more. Like what we do with my team is we do these things like random acts of kindness. We film us going out, helping young girls that are going at the women's shelter. We help poor. We help the men's shelter, and we film these people getting, at the grassroots level, getting help, and the smiles on their faces when somebody actually calls them by their name. These are people that haven't even heard their name in weeks. Mr. So-and-so. And when you come up, somebody goes through a food line, and you're like, Mr. Bledsoe, how you doing? And they look up, because most of them are looking down because they're embarrassed, and they look up for that one moment of humanity. I mean, that's stuff that we can do easily and help change things. But then activism needs to go beyond that to where we start addressing real life issues in the black community and the Latino community where they aren't setting the narrative for us. So that's what we do, and I hope that other people follow suit.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just being recognized, like you said, by just saying someone's name. I mean, that's a powerful thing right there.
It's extremely powerful, and what we do is, because I own a site called TeaPartyCommunity.com, which is a social media site like Facebook for conservatives, and we tell these people, we buy their groceries, and we'll say, I'll go up and I'll say, Ms. Bledsoe, is it okay if I buy those groceries for you? And they go, well, you serious? And yeah, I want to buy. Is it okay if I buy your groceries for you? See, I'm not saying you need me to buy them. I'm asking, is it okay if I do it? And we did this at the Goodwill. We go up and you find somebody and you say, can I buy this? Can I buy that stuff for you? And they're shocked. And we had one film where a black lady, she started crying. It was $7.80, and she started crying and saying, I was asking God for a miracle. And I'm thinking, $7.80 was a miracle in this woman's life. That to me is,
well, that's biblical, because I mean, it kind of goes back to the woman who gave the all that she had. Mm-hmm. I mean, for her, that's all, and maybe in her case, that's all she had.
Well, that was my point. Is we're paying this thing for her, which was nothing, because we had paid a lady's to get a lady's car out of the pound for $150.
Yeah.
But her mom and her sisters were ecstatic, and I said the Tea Party community did this, and they were, oh my gosh, you don't know what you did and all that. You know what? I don't know, but I'm glad we were able to help. But those types of things are what we're talking about in terms of activism, where these people will change the way they view us. And quite honestly, from a black community perspective, we need them to stop calling us Uncle Toms and Step and Fetch It and all these other things, because we're actually helping the black community more than any of these race pimps that are out there.
So that kind of goes into my next question.
I didn't know it was that.
Being a black conservative, I mean, we both know the name calling and what comes along with it, mainly from other black people. Mm-hmm. So, what will you tell someone who is questioning progressive ideology? I'm not saying that they said that, okay, they know that they're conservative or libertarian, but they're a question. They know they don't like the direction that they're going, following those progressive, regressive policies. So, what words of encouragement will you give them to step forward?
The only thing you can do with those folks, I had a discussion with a young gay girl at lunch today, and she was talking to me about why she moved away from conservatism, and she said it was because of gay marriage. And I said, we don't have any problem with you being married. I go, but you're making us fight you. So in other words, if your friend, she was with a friend, I said, if your friend says to me, Maribel is getting married, I'm going to say, well, who's a lucky guy? Now, the leftists are going to be offended because I assume that you're marrying a man. But that's because of my definition of marriage. It has nothing to do. I didn't dispute that you're getting married. I don't have a problem with it. I just said, who's the lucky guy? Now, you might say then, well, I'm not marrying a guy, I'm marrying a girl. And I'd say, then no, you're doing something with a girl that I don't have a problem with, but you can't call it marriage because I know what that definition means. Now, if you were to use the term for lesbian marriage as larried, I would, and your friend said, Kevin, Maribel's getting larried, I would have said, well, who's the lucky girl? In which case, you would then know I'm not homophobic, I'm congratulating you, etc. If I ask who's the lucky guy, you then make the jump that I'm homophobic, I'm a misogynist because I only think about the man side of it, and you're going to jump to all these different conclusions. And that's what the left does. They put us in these quandaries by stealing a word that everybody knows what that word means. It's not offensive that I ask you who's the lucky guy, because that is the definition of marriage. So my point to it, and I was talking to Tom, the Washington Times, about this, we have to learn how to fight those types of scenarios that put us at odds with the LGBT community when most people, I don't agree with their lifestyle. If my sister were gay, I would be a little shocked, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't care. And so I no more care about who she chooses to be happy with than the man on the moon. But she doesn't know that. And so we've got to do a better job of making them understand what we're about, as opposed to, just essentially giving up. Because she called that she says, I'm fiscally conservative and socially liberal. And I said, what's socially liberal? Well, I'm gay and blah, blah, blah. And I go, how do you have a lock? How does liberalism have a lock on what people think about gays? They think positive, we think negative. That's not true. Because I know most of the conservatives I know don't care who you have a relationship with. We care that you try to legislate with it. So what was cool, and I told Tom this, she goes, I really appreciate you explaining it. It was like, to watch her understand it was really cool. And I was like, well, good, because I told her, I said, I'm right of freaking Reagan. So if you want to judge conservatives, you just sat, and she gave me her card. She runs a restaurant. She says, you got to come to my restaurant. And we became, literally, I'm telling you, I'll be friends with this girl. Because her mind was so open as to what conservatism means. And so that's what I say. We all have that opportunity to touch somebody all the time. And if we pass it over and we think government's going to do it for us, we're in trouble. Trump can only do so much. It's what you do at your level. When somebody says, who you for, and you say, I'm for Trump. And they're like, what, nigga, you can't put that on there. But, you for Trump, and you're like, yeah, I'm for Trump. And then you're going to find out there's 2 or 3 other dudes for Trump that didn't say anything. And then, but more importantly, you're challenging this guy that obviously wasn't. So what I would say to him is, so what, you were for that ugly rich white woman? I would put him on blast. You were for Hillary? I'm going to make you have to come to grips with who you're with. Because you're going to say, you for the rich white. Now, I'm for that dude that could have given me a job. Hillary couldn't give you no job. What was she going to do? I'm going to make you defend. So anyway, I think that if we do that more often, we'll win the cultural battle over time. It's going to take some time, though.
Okay. So you have anything else coming up?
Well, I'll be back on Outnumbered on Fox on March the 16th. I'll be back up there for that. And probably we'll do the 5 as well. And outside of that, I'm working on my radio shows going back on satellite, not XM. Everybody thinks I'm going on Sirius. Satellite, to where it could go in more markets. And, of course, go to the Blacksphere.net. That's where I write everything.
All right, Kevin Jackson, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
And thanks to Kevin Jackson for the Blacksphere, for talking with us for a couple of minutes. Well, we're at the end of the show. The program will be back tomorrow with some more interviews. With we had to cut one, but we're going to add that on to the next one tomorrow, and that will be the last one. I'm probably going to do a video recap this weekend. Definitely with everything, with all these interviews and with President Trump's speech. So most likely, I definitely will be doing one this weekend. Till tomorrow, I will chat with y'all later.